Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Hello if you're new here. I'm so glad that you have joined. It's time for our December TBR. It is crunch time. It's crunch time now because all the books that I've been wanting to read for this year, these are the books I need to be reading in December. It's kind of stressful, even though I know that it's like, but why is it stressful? Because I'll still be able to read the books. It'll just have to start in January. But I just think mentally, like when you know there's been books that you've been waiting to read all year, and you know the year's coming to an end, you're like, I still didn't read those books yet. It's such a struggle. But I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm not doing a spinning wheel. I'm not picking out the TBR because I kind of know what I want my December TBR to be, or I know the books that I would like to try and read before the end of the year. So I just thought, I'm just going to show you guys and talk you through the books I want to read. Unfortunately, I did do a book haul, didn't I? Which means that there are books that I bought in that haul, which are all the fantasy books I want to read, because all I want to read right now is fantasy, that I'm now trying to have to squeeze into my TBRs for the end of the year. I'm trying to work my way through my 10 before the end. I just don't even know where the time is going to be to read these books. So this is really just going to be going through my December TBR, going through all my hopefuls I would like to read before the end of the year. It's just that a lot of them are relatively new books and I'm just neglecting books that have been on my TBR for a while, or maybe at the beginning of the year I was hoping to read them and I've kind of just gone down a different path now. So let's just get straight into the books I want to read in December and why. These are literally all fantasy. I would love to include a lot of these books in sort of my end of the year reading wrap up as well, because my reading year has been very up and down. November has been one of the best reading months, so actually has been the best reading month of the year. And I've just enjoyed every single book that I've read so much, and it is because I'm reading fantasy. So I'm just going to kind of stick to what's working for me right now. So that means that one of the first books I'd like to read is Arcana Academy by Elise Kova, which looks like this. And let me just see if I can read a bit of the blurb. So it says, Clara Greysword has survived the underworld of Eclipse City through thievery, luck, and a whole lot of illegal magic. After a job goes awry, Clara is sentenced to a lifetime in prison for inking tarot cards, a rare power reserved for practitioners at the elite Arcana Academy. That's all I'm going to read. So this is the one that has tarot card magic in it. I've not read anything by Elise Kova before. I have seen the author around. I think she's written a few other fantasies or romances, but this I've seen really good reviews for. So I would like to read this because it's a new author. It's something that I don't really know too much about. I think I say this, I feel like a broken record when I keep saying something that I don't know too much about, but I just like to go into books blind now. I've said this so many times recently. I just like to go into things blind because there have been too many books that I've read that everyone's talking about, or that I have seen people talk about for years and years, and then I've waited years to read them, then I read them and I'm like, okay, so it's 3.5 stars. And I'm just so fed up of that happening. So this is the first book. I just think it's this is kind of a random pick. Am I desperate to know what happens in this book? Do I think people have been rating this 5 stars across the board? No. But do I think that I just want to read something a little bit different? Tarot card magic is always a fun time. So yeah, that is the first book that I want to read. Next up, so the first book for this was in my 10 before the end, but with my newly found rules, which is not starting a series unless I am going to finish it, then I would like to read this series by Greenwich and Lennox. So I don't actually know what the series is called. Is it the Empyrean? No, that's Fourth Wing, but it's something similar to that. But anyway, the first 2 books, so Riftborn was in my 10 before the end, is Riftborn, and then Duskbound is book 2. And then The Ascended has just recently been released, which is, it's not book 3, but it's the 3rd book in this world, and it is recommended that you read Riftborn and Duskbound first. And this is the book that I want to get to, because the reviews for this are insane. And even just scrolling through Bookstagram last night, I saw somebody else read this and she was like, if I could wipe my memories and reread something again for the first time so I could have that feeling again, it would be this book. And I just keep seeing people rave review it, and I just don't want to get any spoilers. I don't want to also overhype it too much in my head and then maybe read it and it's just not as exciting. I think I need to just read this series. So yeah, I would like to read these, all three of them. I'm not going to read book 1 and just stray. So instead of going into the new year and then thinking I still have that one book out of that series to finish, I hate that feeling. I'm kind of over it now. I did it with House of Devils. I read City of Gods and Monsters back in, I want to say like February or March, and I haven't finished the series. I actually just recently downloaded the first book on audio. I remember a lot of what happened in the book, but I am going to re-listen to it on audio before I read books 2, 3 and 4, because I just left it so long that I don't want to miss like any, you know, small minor details or just like intricate little plot points that I'm not going to pick up until I start reading the book and then it comes back to mind. I want to go in knowing everything that happened, and whilst I remember the plot, it's just the small finer details that I feel like you miss when you leave it that long in series. That is not something we're doing anymore. We're not doing it anymore. The next book that I would like to read is Kissed of the Gods by Katie Rogan. This is a romantasy. And again, I don't really know much about this. It just says on the back here, it's part of the Eternal Wars series. And it says, Lena has spent a lifetime submitting, kneeling and enduring. Then soldiers come for her brother and a divine fury surges through her veins. She expects execution for the body she left in her wake. Her people have met bloody ends for far, far less. Instead, a God-sworn warrior born to privilege and raised in order drags her into a world that was never meant for her, one of divine armies, death, demons, winged war horses, monsters, sacred power, and royal secrets. That sounds really epic. So that is on the TBR. Also, I don't think this is like, yeah, so it's about 500 pages. I mean, I just think at this point with a fantasy, if you get something 500 pages, you've done quite well. Next book that I would like to read, I am kind of thinking, the reason I'm going off on a tangent right now, I've just cut myself up, but the reason why I have interrupted my own sentence is because I'm kind of thinking of doing a romantasy reading vlog, because a lot of these books are 5-star predictions, dare I say it. I've been rating a couple of books 5 stars or almost 5 stars recently. I said like a couple of months ago, I think I'd done like 6 or 7 5-stars throughout the year, and I just genuinely felt like reading fantasies towards the end of the year was going to bring in a lot of 5-star reads. This is one of my books that I think is a 5-star prediction, so I think I might vlog that and read some of these in a reading vlog. Let me know if that's something you would like to see, because it also will help me just sit down and get locked in with my reading as well. Air of Illusion. This is by Madeline Taylor. I don't know much about this, but all I see on the back is it says tension, angst and a delicious slow burn. I love, slow burn has now become one of my favourite tropes ever, especially since reading Nightshade by Autumn Woods, which isn't a fantasy. I talk about that book all the time. It was incredible. I would really like to read this book. I've heard amazing reviews. This book says, welcome to the kingdom of secrecy, betrayal and no mercy. Ivy Pomeroy should be untouchable, blessed with the power of illusion. She has many tricks up her sleeve, yet none are a match for the enchanted necklace that keeps her bound and as assassin to a ruthless king. Forced to play the role of obedient pet, she plots in secret to destroy him and break free of his hold. When a mysteriously handsome reaper from Death's realm, that sounds great, arrives hunting the same weapon Ivy needs, the enemies collide in a reluctant alliance brimming with tension. Okay, is this enemies to lovers? Rivals to lovers, enemies to lovers, tension, I don't know. Sounds pretty good. I've seen a few people read it and I just think, you know, everyone's saying it's just such a good romantasy. And I do genuinely think, like, based off of people's like breakdowns a little bit of like the synopsis and the plot, it sounds absolutely fantastic. Okay, this is another book that was in my TBR twice already this year and I didn't get around to reading it, so I am going to put it in this month's TBR. You are probably sick of me always like, there always being like a couple of books that just like are always in my TBRs. I mean, most of the time I do pick them out of a jar and they just happen to get picked again. I mean, and I still just don't get around to it. But Blood and Betrayals by Jeanette Rose and Alexis Roon. Why have I not read this yet? Because everybody's saying this is like Zodiac Academy vibes and it's got things like vampires, dragons, demons. I don't know if there's demons in it. This basically says power flows through the ancient halls of Avalon University like a never-ending flood. Admission to the elite institution enables students to hone their magic under the watchful eye of their icy headmaster. Summer Tuatha de Danann. That is definitely not how you say that. Planned to slide through her tenure at Avalon unnoticed and inconspicuous. Anyway, it says at the bottom, Summer finds herself at the obsession of a sadistic stalker with the warning, 7 lessons to learn. With the help of her new friend, she races against the clock to solve the mystery, hoping to save lives and catch the killer before it's too late. So a few things I want to break down about this here. First of all, I love romantasy in an academic setting. I love it. I just think it brings so much drama. Second of all, there's a micro trope in here that I just love, which is when somebody gets admission to like a elite institution, but they're not the ones that put themselves, like they didn't apply themselves. I don't know why I love that micro trope when they just find a letter at their door or they find some like kind of acceptance letter into this elite uni and they're like, I wasn't supposed to do this, but I may as well explore this opportunity. I love that so much. Plus the fact that this is obviously romantasy, it's a darker romantasy, it's got vampires in it. I've heard that it's meant to be quite emotional and I'm here for it. I'm literally here for it. I saw someone do a review the other day saying if you didn't cry at the end of Blood and Betrayals, there's something wrong with you. That intrigues me. So it's about time that I sit down and read this. Next up, this is kind of random, I'm going to be completely honest, but it's a book that has been on my radar for a really long time. I was kind of put off buying it because it was indie published and the books were insanely expensive. If you have been a long time subscriber, you know that I don't just buy the first book in the series 90% of the time. I will just buy the whole entire series. And it just bothers me. There's something, it's not even like, I guess you could say in a way it's like an OCD, where it just really annoys me having like one book in a series that is when the rest of the books are out and I just sitting on my shelf like incomplete. Say for example the series has been released. You guys are going to think I'm so weird. But say if the series has been released but book 4 isn't released yet, that doesn't bother me. That's okay. But if I have book 1 and book 2 and 3 are out, it really annoys me that I don't have book 2 and 3. It is seriously something I need to work on in the new year. But anyway, this book was on my radar for a while, and the books, the paperback copies were like £19 each, and I think there's like 4 or 5 books out. And I was like, that's a financial commitment and a half if I then don't like it. I've gone off on a massive tangent. I'm sure you're probably thinking, just tell us what the book is. So, To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. I literally just got this the other day because I had some points on my Waterstones card, so I got £10 off of this, so I think the book itself only cost me like £11 or something. But I just thought, I know that I'm contradicting myself slightly here because I don't have the rest of the books in the series, but because the book I could get for £10, I thought I'll read the first book this month and try it and see if I like it. It's a dark romantasy. It's a Rapunzel retelling, I think. It says here, 19 years ago, I was plucked from the heart of a bloody massacre that spared nobody else, small, fragile, an enigma. Now ward to a powerful high master who knows too much and says too little. I lead a simple life, never straying from the confines of an imaginary line I've drawn around the castle grounds. Stay within and never leave. Out there, monsters lurk. Inside, I'm safe, though at a cost far greater than the blood I drip into a goblet daily. Toxic, unreciprocated love for a man who's utterly unavailable. My almost executioner, I can't help but be enamoured with the arcane man who holds power to pull my roots from the ground. Okay, I mean, it just sounds kind of like almost whimsical, but on a darker kind of scale. So yeah, I really would like to read that. The next book, this is one that I to be honest, I wasn't planning on reading it in December. I only just bought it in my most recent book haul. And I have since, again, like I say, I feel like a broken record, but I have seen the most amazing reviews, and if this doesn't scream good book, I don't know what does. This is a debut novel. It has not long been out and she has already been traditionally published, but it is Souls in Ruin by Jacqueline White. This is meant to be like dark, tragic, and just beautifully, beautifully written. And I just think a beautifully written romantasy that is emotional and going to cause me emotional damage, yep, sign me up. So it says, a marriage sealed in blood, a kingdom lost to silence, and a princess who refuses to break. When Princess Mirielle is wed to a foreign king known for conquest, she expects distance and perhaps cruelty, not chains. Kept imprisoned within the walls of her own kingdom, she discovers the depth of her father's sins and the vengeance that runs deeper. As her world twists into something unrecognisable, Mirielle finds herself caught between two godlike men, one who wants her obedience and one who wants what little soul she has left, but she was not born to kneel. And it says here, Souls in Ruin is the first book of the Soulbound trilogy, a dark romantasy of divine obsession, power and survival, perfect for readers who enjoy slow burn tension, that's me, villainous love interest, that is also me, and heroines who rise from ruin to reclaim their fate. Also me. I love a strong female lead. I think in this book she goes through a lot, and I think it's a bit emotionally grueling, but it's supposed to be like so beautifully written, and yeah, I just think it sounds so good. So this is also in December's TBR. A lot of these books weren't really on the radar for this month, but I find like with fantasy, if I read too much of the same type of fantasy, like too many academic ones or something, I'd feel like they all start to read the same. So I just want to switch them up, and all of these are pretty different to each other. And then lastly, because I'm thinking, don't hold me to this, I'm thinking my end of December going into January is going to be the rest of my Zodiac Academy journey. I hope. So I'm aware I've literally listed a lot of books, but Zodiac Academy's book 4 and 5. I would like to read these in December. Something as well about just like reading Zodiac Academy around Christmas. I don't know why, because it's not like a festive book at all, but something just about this world, because I know what Solaria feels like to be in whilst you're reading it. That is something I want to be reading while my Christmas tree is up. I don't know. Does anybody like understand where I'm coming from? But I've read books 1 to 3. I've read the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac Academy series, bar book 5, which technically I've made my TBR really long because technically I need to read that book first before I go back to here. Otherwise, the whole point of stopping at book 3 and reading that series would have been for nothing. But I would really, really like to just restart my Zodiac Academy journey. So they are also the other books that I would like to read in December. I feel like sometimes I come out onto here with like these crazy TBRs, but I'm pretty good at sticking to them. I'm good at sticking to them at the start, and then it's like the last 2 weeks of the month, it just kind of goes a little bit off the rails, because depending like if I've been enjoying things, if I've been slumping a bit, if I've DNF'd anything, or if I keep rated books 3 stars, like sometimes I'll just completely switch up what I'm doing. I'm well and truly in my fantasy era right now. That's not to say that I don't miss dark romance and won't go back to dark romance. I definitely will. I do like sometimes scan the bookshelves and I think, wow, that would just be a really great book to read. There are other books that I would like to read, like War Games, I think, by Sheridan Ann. You know, this book here, this is a dark romance, and this is something that I've been like kind of eyeing up, but I just can't tear myself away from fantasy right now. But it's a book that I will bear in mind if I need something just shorter, easier. Like I'm just finding, you know, reading these huge fantasy books really overwhelming. So I will use my dark romance as palate cleansers, because that's what a dark romance reader does. She uses these crazy books as a palate cleanser. How many books did I pick out there? Actually, you know what? I don't even want to count, but I just know that I want to read these books at some point. I'm not too worried about my reading goal. I've kind of smashed my reading goal. I wanted to read 80 books. I think I've read like 100 now, or almost 100, so doing very well there. It's going to be that time to start thinking about how many books I want to read next year. Make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss my November reading wrap up, because I've got so many good books to talk about, and so that you don't miss any upcoming vlogs of my romantasy reading journey, how many 5-star reads I can find, all of that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you guys in my next one.